Okay, chapter 9 is going to actually go through the different routes that you're going to be doing in the medical and surgical section. So with this, just an FYI, there's 31 root operations. This is why it's very important for you to study the root operations. So general guidelines. To determine the appropriate root operation, the full definition of the root operation is contained and the PCS tables must be applied. So again, resection, cutting out or off without replacement all of a body part, okay? All of a body part. So we've been talking about the gallbladder. They're taking the whole gallbladder out, okay? So again, they're not replacing it with a different gallbladder. They're not just taking part of it, it's total. Components of a procedure specified in the root operation, definition, or explanation are integral to that root operation are not coded separately. So an example, if we have resection of a joint as part of a joint replacement procedure, it is not included in the root operation definition, replacement, and is not coded separately. So if they're doing a total knee, okay, so basically what they're doing is they're replacing the knee. We're not going to code the, for them initially taking out the resection. Procedural steps necessary to reach the operative site, such as incision or approach, and close to the operative site, such as suturing, are also not coded separately, including anastomosis of a tubular part. The only exception to the guideline, a mastectomy followed by breast reconstruction. At this point, both the resection and replacement of the breast are coded separately. Okay, so guidelines. All right, I'm not going to go through all the guidelines. My point here is to show you how to code, and again, just go through the roots. So again, read through these guidelines. These are important. You do have an exam over the guidelines coming up. Okay, so the same root operation is performed, here's just a quick one here, on different body parts as defined by distinct values. So let's just say we have a diagnostic excision of liver and pancreas. Okay, so I'm looking at 0FT, okay, it's resection, diagnostic excision of liver, okay, so we have resection, liver, and the pancreas. So with that, what they're telling you, same root operation is performed on both, so you can, at this point, code them both. Root operation, multiple procedures continued. The same root operation is repeated in multiple body parts, and those parts are separate and distinct. So again, you can code them both. Let's go here. Root operation guidelines. Multiple root operations with distinct objectives are performed on the same body part. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do, make sure you go through the guidelines, especially procedures converted to open procedures. I want to get to, the actual, again, biopsies are important. Just reading through this, I'm going to have you, because again, I would have how many videos. I don't go through these even through the classroom. I have the students read through the guidelines themselves. Because one thing with guidelines to keep in mind, they do change every year. So there is a website, and I will post that in the classroom. For the most current, I am using the 2000, the most current book possibly. So, but I don't like to go through the guidelines in case they change from year to year. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to start with root operations. So the first section here, root operations that take out some or all of the body part. I like these little examples. So if I have a root example of excision, okay, it says cutting out or off without replacement, okay? Excision and resection are pretty darn close. The only difference is excision is some, where resection's all, okay? Example, a breast lumpectomy versus a total mastectomy, they take the whole breast off. Detachment, cutting off without replacement, okay? Some or all of the upper extremity. Amputation above the elbow. Destruction, example would be the fulguration of the endometrium. And an extraction, pulling out or off some without replacement, a suction D and C. I do have more, again, examples. I think examples are the best because usually somebody can relate an example to something else. I do advise you, once again, to study your root operations. If you have those flashcards, study them. Okay, so again, we went through the examples. Excision versus resection, I talked about that. When excision is biopsy, the qualifier diagnostic is used. Remember, the qualifier is your 7th character. Okay, so again, for example, OFT, the body part column shows unique values for liver, right lobe, left lobe, so we need to know. So if they remove the entire right lobe of the liver is considered resection, even though only one lobe of the liver was removed, because each lobe of the liver is considered a body part. So that's kind of a nice little tidbit to know. Radical resection versus excision. Care should be exercised when coding resection or radical excision. The term radical can have different meanings. Usually to me, radical means that they're taking more out than what initially is there. So the coding professional should instead be guided by the information in the op report, review it. Again, you're going to be dealing with one-liners in this book. Autograft, okay, is from a different procedure site. Again, here's another guideline. So we have coronary bypass with the excision of saphenous vein graft. Excision of that vein graft is coded separately. Detachment, destruction, extraction. Okay, again, these are all in your book. Okay, we're still at table 9.1. Detachment. Body part values is site at the detachment with qualifier applicable if they're saying where it was. Destruction, extraction, share the site of the procedure. Okay, so here's some nice examples here of the next one that we're going to do. Okay, so with that, we have root operations to take out solid fluids, gases from a body part. So drainage, letting out fluids within a body part, the site of the procedure is all the same. Extirpation. Okay, so again, drainage, the example, incision and drainage. Extirpation is a thrombectomy. Okay, we have a thrombus in the vein. So they're cutting it out. It's within the vein, within the body part. Fragmentation, you're breaking it. So a lithotripsy, if somebody has a stone in the gallbladder, you're going to use this root operation. Okay, so these are all examples of those roots. What I'm going to do next, make sure you read through that. Again, I cannot, specify enough. But what I'm going to do, we're going to go ahead and do 9.1. I am going to let's go ahead and do number 3, below the knee amputation, distal portion, right leg. Okay, so looking at that, everybody go to their PCS book, look up amputation, pause the tape if you need to. With amputation, it says see detachment. So, okay, so I have to go to detachment. Detachment then. Okay, so if I have detachment and we are detaching, let's go to, okay, so everybody pause. And we know it is the right leg. So I'm looking at 0Y6H. Okay, with that, below the knee, right leg, we're going to go knee region, which I don't think is what we want. So this is why we're going to have to go to our table, because if I look at leg lower, it's more what we need. So again, I'm going to look at the right leg, and looking at my thing, it's pretty much giving me the code. So leg lower right is 0Y6H 0Z. Okay, and then I have to look in my table And where is it at? It's lower. So my seventh character is going to be 3. Okay? All right, so division, release are the next two that they talk about. With these, cutting or separation, they give you the example of neurotomy. Okay, so again, we're talking about division. They're separating a nerve. Release, freeing a body part from constraint around a body part, atelohesis. Okay, another example would be possible carpal tunnel release. You know, they're releasing that nerve around the body part. Okay, so with that, make sure you read through the actual definitions, guidelines. We're going to go to the next one, transplantation. Putting in living body part from a person or an animal. Okay, kidney transplant, usually that's going to be a human. Reattachment. Okay, the example they give you is if reattach a finger. Transfer, moving a body part function for a similar part, skin transfer flap. Reposition, undescended testicle. Okay, so you're getting the everything that I'm saying here. The biggest thing is, to me, root's not that bad. Okay, if you study your flashcards, look at what each thing's going on, you will be fine. When we get into approaches and that, those can be a little bit more difficult. So again, we have these here. They give you example, bypass a cabbage, dilation. Okay, that's a PTCA. It's where they put the balloon into the artery and pump it out for the blockage. Occlusion of fallopian tube ligation. Restriction, gastroesophageal fundoplication. All right, so going through this, again, we have lots of roots. These roots are going to be, so we're still dealing with medical and surgery. Remember that. Okay, briefly we go through number 1, which is obstetrics. Obstetrics still has different roots, not as many, but a lot of them are the same, maybe a few different. Okay, so we look here, we have insertion. Okay, putting in a non-biological device on a body part, central line insertion. We have replacement, supplement, change, removal, revision. Okay, it gives you all these different examples. Make sure you review them. Inspection, map, gives you, again, samples. Make sure you read through the guidelines. Control, repair. Fusion, spinal fusion. Alteration, a facelift. Creation, if somebody has an artificial vagina, penis, this would be a sex change operation. Okay, so the biggest thing you can take from this chapter is to study. Study, study, study those roots. So you can figure out, are they excising? Are they resecting? Is it a division? What are they doing? Okay, that is your first question you need to do. So again, flashcards, shared files. I have extra roots there. You can go to the actual guidelines. I have the guidelines there. They'll give you some more examples. More examples, the better. Any questions on this chapter, please ask.